Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another night of TGP2 action. We're seeing possibly one of the most exciting TGP championships ever playing out at the moment, and we have 6 races to go, 3 weeks, and the top 5 in the championship are separated by 22 points. Last week, at the start of last week, they were separated by 23. I think it was. This week is 22. It's just getting closer and closer and tighter as we approach the end of this season. We've got Dom in the lead of the championship at 186 points, 182 points for Hickman, 171 for Magic Buchanan, 167 for Jacko, and 164 for Chris Johnson. So after the brilliant battles of United States last week and the controversy in Mexico, we've now got 2 awesome circuits today around Brazil and Canada. And alongside me to watch both races is Roy.
Good evening, Daniel. Yeah, looking forward to tonight's races as always. 2 differing tracks. We do like a night of contrast. So we have the fast-flowing sections of the Interlagos circuit, and then followed up by Canada, which is effectively just a load of straights linked by hairpins and chicanes. But it makes for a very big challenge, and penalties could play key later on. But first up, we have Interlagos. And yeah, Parsa on provisional pole, but it's very, very tight at the top, just 4 thousandths of a second. Blair Grill's currently in P6. He's heading back into the pits. Jacko is not on a push lap either. Is there anyone who is on a push lap? I think Sir Tom Penguin certainly is on a push lap. He was getting very ragged on the exit of turn 4, but I think he's still going for. He's missed the apex a bit though at turns 6 and 7.
Yeah, so in terms of the championship contenders right now, then we have Hickman in 2nd, Jacko in 5th, Dom in 8th, Chris Johnson in 10th, and Buchanan in 16th. So they're all spread out quite a bit. And we should say that Buchanan actually has a quali ban for this round for impeding somebody in the previous race in qualifying. So he will be starting at the very back, no matter what, for this one. But we'll have to see if the other guys can get up there. If it stays like this, I think Hickman will be very, very happy indeed, even if he is just 4 thousandths off the pole time, as somebody else has just crossed last. Bazard, isn't it? Bazard up to a very solid 4th place, which bumps Jacko down to 6th now. 3 minutes of the session to go, so they're all going to be out for the final runs anytime soon.
And we have, that's a Mercedes on an outlap. We have Indecisive Mackie rounding the end of the final sector, and he's 9/10ths of a second up on his time. Track map is showing purple middle sector, but I'll be honest, we can't really trust it because it kind of does that for most people. But DRS now open on the pit straight. Well, the pit straight that has 3 corners in the middle of it. But Indecisive Mackie crosses the line and jumps himself up to P9.
And ahead of Dom as well, crucially. Ahead of Dom. Dom is currently on a lap right now. He's 2/10ths quicker in the first sector. He's run a bit wide there, but it's not an invalidation. Wow, I wish I knew that yesterday. I have to say, although saying that, it was a wet quali yesterday in DG1, so probably would not have been a good idea to go way far out on the curbs. But Dom certainly is doing that at the moment, and it looks like he's going to improve on his lap time, seeing if there's anybody else who's coming round about to finish a lap. Jacko also is he just behind? Oh, Dom's backed off. Did Dom make an error?
I think so, yeah. I saw him back off, and I had a bit of a spectator glitch. I was trying to switch the Aston Martin, but the game wouldn't let me. But Jacko now getting a bit of a tow. Probably a bit too distant, though, to gain any real advantage. But Jacko jumped himself up into P3.
Good lap down by Jacko, and of course he needs to bounce back after having to really struggling a lot last week, especially in Mexico, of course, when he had that incident with Hickman, a very controversial incident with Hickman. But we've got a minute and a half to go now in this session, so everybody will set final laps. And Dom is, I think he's going again. Yes, he is going again. Just want to see what Mike Noon can do here, because Mike Noon's coming around the final corner. And, Indecisive, that's a scary place to encounter traffic. But Mike Noon's going to cross the line, and we see he's going to set a good lap here. He goes 5th, so good lap for Mike Noon.
Apologies for lingering on Indecisive's car. I don't know what's happening here. The game seems to be very intent on spectating Indecisive Mackie, but he has just retired from the session, so hopefully that can stop. But Dom is now on a lap, and it's looking good so far. He's still pushing. He's only a 10th up, though, on his previous best, which will only actually jump him ahead of his teammate. So Dom not really looking like he has the ultimate pace around here.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do then. But I mean, at least what can he do? Maybe he can get into to fourth row possibly. Uh, he,
10th.
he stays 10th. He stays in 10th place. Oh, and he's obviously very annoyed with himself because he's gone and crashed out the session. So he's behind his teammates. He's down in 10th place, the championship leader for this race. That is a big shock. Blair Grills, I think, is improving at the moment. Everybody's on the final runs. Hickman has had to abandon his final run. He's not going to improve. And Pass is still in the garage. So the top two are not going to improve. Jacko is also done. Where's Blair Grills going to go? He crosses the line and he goes up into 5th place. So good lap by Blair Grills.
Mike Noon has invalidated his lap as an AlphaTauri of Sir Tom Penguin behind him, though. And he's going to get maybe a little bit of a tow from the Red Bull. In fact, he's going to get a big tow from the Red Bull in front. And Sir Tom Penguin stays in P11. He was 0.08 of a second off his previous lap. Sayer Sports is on an invalid lap.
Got Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson in 12th place. Can he get into the top 10 at least here? We know he struggles in qualifying, but he's 5/10 up at the moment. So, well, where could this put him? This might put him ahead of Dom, and indecisive. It would be quite crucial if he can manage to do that. Don't forget, Pip Cannon's got the penalty as well, so he ain't going to improve any at all. And Chris Johnson goes into 9th, and he does indeed go ahead of Dom. So 9th place for Chris Johnson, and I think that is it. Daniel Peel-Wheelnut's still on the lap, but he is backing off. Or I think he may well be even out of fuel because I think it looked like he was setting a decent lap there and has had to abandon it. So that's the end of qualifying then. Parset is on pole. And then Hickman, 2nd place in the championship, 2nd place in this race. Jacko will be in 3rd, and then there's quite a big gap before the next championship contender with Chris Johnson in 9th, Dom in 11th, Buchanan 16th. So good result if you're Hickman or Jacko.
Exactly, yeah, and I think I don't know, Chris Johnson improving at the end there. That could actually be good for Dom. I know certainly I'd rather start 11th than 10th. So I think Dom may go for an alternate strategy, or maybe not. We'll have to find out. But he may as well from that point because his title rivals are up the front of the grid. So he may as well try something different and hope for maybe a bit of a late safety car. But it's going to be fresh tyres regardless. So Parsa takes pole then by 0.04 of a second over Theo Hickman in the Williams. Jacko rounds out the top 3, followed by Daniel P. Wheelnut, Blair Grills, Mike Noon an impressive 6th, followed by Baza, Wet Lemons in P8. Chris Johnson is 9th with Indecisive Mackie completing the top 10. Dom Smith just outside that top 10, but will have a fresh set of tyres at the start of the race from P11. Sir Tom Penguin follows him, and then it's Angel versus Death, Sayer Sports, Kaya, Magic Poop Cannon, who did have that qualifying ban, he will only start 16th, and then Mr. John and Red Bull Kim complete the grid.
That's Parser's 5th pole of the season, by the way, joint top with Poop Cannon. So once again showing us 1 lap pace, and I remember the first race of the season where he was fighting for the win in Bahrain, and we were like, wow, is Parser going to fight for the championship this season? But sadly, it has not properly materialised that way for him. But we're on the grid then here in Brazil. Well, we're not on the grid, we're watching the pit lane. And you can see it's a lot darker overhead than what it was for qualifying. But no rain on the circuit.
Doesn't look like it, no. And I thought the track may have been slightly damp, but I doubt it. Looks like it is going to be a slick tyre start. Gotta admit, it would be a lot more helpful if we did actually see the grid as opposed to an empty pit lane. But with some marshals looking the opposite direction. But anyway, we shall get underway in Brazil. The lights are coming on the gantry. And we are away in Interlagos, and it looks like a fairly even start up the front. And in fact, Theo has actually got a bit of a slow start, and it's Jacko who's challenging now into 2nd place. Jacko around the outside, which becomes the inside for turn 2. They're going to be side by side through the long turn 3, the Curva do Sol, down the Reta Aposta, and it's Jacko who's pressuring Theo Hickman for P2. But Parsa's got a very good start, but Jacko now has the inside line heading into turn 4. But I think Theo Hickman has the advantage. No, he does not. Jacko barges his way past, and Jacko takes P2. It's Theo in P3 with Mike Noon making a very impressive start up into P4.
Jacko was determined to get that move done, wasn't he? Bit of revenge there, perhaps, after what's happened in Mexico. Meanwhile, Indecisive looks like he's dropping a few positions down at the back. But Theo's still all over Jacko here, and they're going to be going around the outside, trying to go around the outside. He can't make that move. And instead, Mike Noon's going to make the most of it and get ahead. Sir Tom Penguin's out the race. Mike Noon and Hickman are still battling here, and it looks like Mike Noon's through. We've got a virtual safety car.
Mike Noon, brilliant start then from P6 to P3. And Theo, he's going to be pretty annoyed with that first lap. I think it all looked fairly clean to me. Well, on the limit anyway, but Jacko had the right to the corner from what I saw. So
Yeah.
Jacko, he fought hard, and I'd say fair.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Meanwhile, Dom is still in 11th place, so hasn't had his usual quick start. Blair Grill's pitting. Now, that's an interesting one. Blair Grill's possibly trying to make the most of this VSC. It is quite a long pit lane around here, so will it be enough for him to possibly get the full pit stop done before we get going once again? Well, he's just exited the pit lane now, so I'll tell you what, this could be good for Blair Grills. Indecisive was in pit lane. He's having to change his front wing though. We must have had a bit of contact early on in this race, and we're still waiting for a restart, and we now have the restart, and Blair Grills is he's leaving the pit lane now, so he's got away with that. Perfect. This could play very well for Blair Grills.
So Blair Grills then could very well have a very good track position when all the cars eventually feed into the pits, if indeed it stays green. But 17 laps on that set of tyres, he is asking a lot, but he's clearly valuing the track position out there. So Mike Noon then holding on to a podium spot in this very early stage of the race, and we have an Alfa Romeo, I should say, running very, very wide before Junsao, but just about holds on to the position. But Mike Noon then is going to have quite the run heading into turn 1. No DRS enabled at this early stage of the race, but Mike Noon, you can see he has a straight line speed advantage. He has that slipstream. Which line did he decide to take? He's going to go down the inside. Mike Noon takes P2. Jacko does the switchback though. Jacko wants to get that position back, and Jacko retakes P2.
It's wheel nut spun. That's the CRS is there, just behind those guys battling, and these two are still side by side. Mike Noon has got the position now though, and it looks like he's going to keep it as they head into the Interlagos. And Mike Noon retains second place, and Hickman and Jacko are now side by side once again, and it's Hickman ahead this time. Is Jacko going to try and stay in there? That would be a huge risk, and he decides not to. And Jacko then goes from second to fourth in the space of a sector and a bit. Hickman in third, Mike Noon in a very excellent second place, but don't forget, he was second in Mexico and ended up in the barrier.
Meanwhile, at the front, Parsa is having it his own way out there. He's got a 3.3 second lead. But then again, he has done that before, where he's had a commanding lead in the early stages of the race and ran into all sorts of issues. But it's looking good for Parsa and Mike right now. But of course, don't want to put the commentator's curse on it, so let's move on. We've got Jacko then. DRS is enabled on this lap. So we've got a very fast Wet Lemons in that McLaren. He's going to dive up the inside of Jacko. Jacko seemingly lacking a bit of straight line speed, or maybe he's lacking deployment, but Jacko hangs it around the outside, which then becomes the inside for turn 2, and then the outside yet again, but you really want the inside for that turn 3. So Wet Lemons then, he is now up into P4. Jacko is putting all sorts of pressure on the McLaren though, and he's going to try and go up the inside, but he does not have the advantage, and Jacko is now down to 5th.
He is indeed, and Magic Poop has got past Dom as well, so Poop Cannon 8th, Dom in 9th, but there's a bit of a gap from Poop Cannon to Chris Johnston in 7th place. And as you mentioned about tyre choice, Roy, Dom did indeed choose to start the race on the medium tyres, so he will be going longer in this stint then, as Hickman's still all over the back of Mike Noon, but can't get back through. So got Hickman the furthest forward at the moment in terms of championship contenders, but that's an interesting group from 7th, 8th, 9th, Chris Johnson, Poop Cannon and Dom. But Jacko still only in 5th, but I just wonder if Hickman is going to have the DRS here, and it's going to have probably quite an easy move on Mike Noon, you would imagine. There we go. Deploys the DRS and the ERS. He's already alongside it. He's already ahead, even before they cross the start-finish line. And Hickman is back in 2nd place.
So Theo now, what he needs to do is just get a bit of that deployment level built up again, because he was derating down the straight. He's actually derating through turn 3, and now Mike Noon is the one with the DRS, but he is a little bit far back, so I don't think he's going to have the speed to overhaul him into turn 4, and indeed he does not. So Theo retains P2. The gap is now 2.7 seconds, so Theo is flying out there. He does seem to be quicker than Parsa at this moment in time, but now he has no DRS, and he is pretty much out of deployment as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. I wonder if Parsa made a mistake or something, so suddenly lose a lot of time. 2.7 seconds now, the gap, as you say. Just wonder if Mike Noon can stay with Hickman around this towards the end of the lap, and he might get DRS back at him. But if not, you have to imagine Wet Lemons will also be coming through. But it's around lap 5 of this race. It'll be interesting to see when the drivers choose to pit at this stage. Still feels like it might be a bit too early. Oh, Mike Noon nearly spins! Mike Noon nearly spins. Wet Lemons is going to overtake him surely. Yeah, he will do.
Easy pickings then for Wet Lemons. Mike Noon seemingly struggling with the rear of that car. We've seen him had a few wobbles in this race so far. He does seem to struggle, particularly on the exit of turn 7. But Jun Sao, it's a difficult corner. If you take too much of that inside curb, you will really unsettle the car, and that may have been what he just did there. But he's still running fourth, still running in a very respectable position. And look at this then. Theo is causing a bit of a DRS train.
And
Wet Lemons is looking pretty quick.
I think Jacko's just let Bazza through there. I think Jacko realises that Bazza's the quicker driver at the moment from these Alfa Romeos, and he's let Bazza through. He made it very easy for him. Of course, the Alfa Romeo are, of course, fighting it for a constructor's title as well at the moment, along with the likes of Alpine and Aston Martin. They are up there fighting for the constructor's title, and Jacko is saying, go on, go and catch those guys, go and make an impact on them, because Jacko obviously doesn't feel like he can. And that now means we have Jacko 6th, Chris Johnson 7th, Pupkan 8th, Dom 9th.
Yeah, so it's looking good for Theo out there at the moment. He's got a few cars in between himself and his other title contenders. I do wonder if Jacko maybe has a slight bit of wing damage, because he really is falling off the pace, and he's coming into the pits now. So let's actually have a look as Wet Lemons is doing battle with Theo. He's gone up the inside of turn 1, and he is indeed through. So Wet Lemons, after taking the fastest lap of the race, is now up into P2, just 2.5 seconds off his teammate. So Wet Lemons is now on a charge.
It's a McLaren 1-2, and I don't think he changed the front wing, Jacko. If he did, I certainly didn't see it. But he's got the medium tyres on the car now, and we'll see what Jacko can do if he can get the undercut perhaps on some of these drivers ahead of him who are battling for position, as Mike Noon once again is getting close to Hickman, but Hickman is still keeping Wet Lemons honest as well. Wet Lemons hardly pulling away. So these three all together, Mike Noon again squirreling all over the place, but he just about gets away with it once more.
Yeah, just about hanging on to the car, and he is looking quick when he can. Another bit of a wobble out of the Bico de Pato, I believe it's called. And yeah, hanging on to P4 there. Now Theo will have the DRS on Wet Lemons. He's half a second back, and it's a pretty long straight. But Theo, he does not have a lot of deployment at his disposal, and Wet Lemons does have a little bit more, so he can defend. And we have a yellow flag. Kaya has gone off the track. Is there any damage to that Haas? There doesn't seem to be, so we shouldn't be getting any VSC or safety car, as Theo is now very close to the back of Wet Lemons, but he's only got DRS at his disposal. He does not have ERS. He's pretty much run out of it, and he's not going to have the advantage on the straight as a result of that.
And so then still can't make the move, and Mike Noon is still there watching, waiting, and also sliding still very much a lot as well, but still keeping up with these guys ahead. Oh, Hickman almost hitting the back of Wet Lemons there as they go through that corner. Laranja, I think it is called, off the top of my head. But, well, we've got to be close to pit stops now, surely.
Yeah, lap 8 is around the kind of time, like between lap 7 and 10 is kind of where you'd expect people to pit. But lap 8 would be the most conventional. Kaya retires in the pit lane, which is all fine. Blair Grills picks up a 3-second penalty. And Mike Noon now is all over the back of Theo, but will any of these drivers choose to come into the pits? And Theo is pitted, as has Parsa. And by the way, I believe the gap at the front was actually less than a second when Parsa did decide to jump into the pits. Wet Lemons, of course, would have had to queue, so he had to stay out. Mike Noon now only 0.4 of a second behind Wet Lemons. We could have a 5-car battle for the lead here, because let's not forget Jacko came into the pit, so it's actually going to be crucial to see where he comes back out.
It is.
So Jacko then powering down the pit straight. I think he's going to jump his Alfa Romeo teammate, is he? He's certainly not going to jump Theo, that's for sure. So Jacko then still lacking a little bit of pace out there. I think he is going to just about jump his teammate. They're side by side as Bazza exits the pit lane, but Bazza slots in behind, and Jacko retakes that position that he relinquished from his teammate, and he's actually picked up a 3-second penalty as he runs wide at the exit of turn 4.
Nightmare for Jacko. The undercut hasn't worked, and now he's got himself a penalty as well. So will Wet Lemons and Mike Noon both pit then? Now they're so close to each other, 2:10 separating them. Will they be coming in? And I wonder if Chris Johnson and Pip Cannon will also come in. Let's find out. Wet Lemons is coming in. Oh, Mike Newton hit the
Oh.
wall on the pit lane entry. Hopefully that hasn't caused any damage to the car, because that will require a front wing change surely. As it, Chris Johnson, Poop Cannon in. Dom, is he going to continue? He's a bit further behind, but he's on those medium tyres, and he does indeed continue. So Mike Newton comes in, and he is changing his front wing. Oh, Mike Newton's had to change his front wing because of that innocuous little tap on the sides of the circuit, and that's going to lose him some time.
Yeah, we'll lose him some time, but if the cars in front do start battling...
Boss has spun! Boss has got a spin, and Hickman has hit the back of him at turn 1, and he's round, and he's got damage. Disaster for second place in the championship.
Did you say Baz has spun or Jacko spun? Did they both spin? They're still
Hickman
together.
Spun.
Oh, Hickman spun.
Hickman hit the back of Parser. Parser got a slide on, and Hickman went into the back of him.
So Theo then with some damage on that Williams. In fact, yeah, quite a bit of damage, as you say. So disaster for Theo, and just as it was looking so good for him, with his other 4 title contenders having a fairly average race, or well, fairly lackluster race, I should say, Theo has picked up some damage and will slip down the order.
Well, this is unbelievable. It was as you say, it was Hickman who was leading the way really, and was way ahead of all those other challenges. But now they're surely all going to jump him, because he's going to have to pit again. Look, he's definitely going to have to pit again. He can't go flat out through that corner through Mugello. Well, disaster for him. But meanwhile, Mike Newton is getting onto Parser here. He had to change his front wing, Mike Newton, but he's still right in this race. And can he get both of them? Oh, he's going to try and get both of them. He's got both of them. Oh, it's unbelievable. Wet Lemons are going to try and stay there. And Wet Lemons has touched and hit him and got off the track. And Mike Newton's just passed both McLarens.
Mike Noon then, he's thrown it up the inside. I think Wet Lemons was rather steering out of the crash than being overtaken per se. I don't know if Mike intended to get both, but yeah, he has indeed. And now side by side, the McLaren and the Red Bull. Parser's got that inside line. Mike's going to have to try and hang it around the outside, but he's not going to be able to do it. But they're still side by side. But Parser takes the position surely then. Yeah, Mike Noon has now dropped down to P3. Wet Lemons then, he tried to stick it up the inside of turn 2. I don't think he was too happy with Mike at turn 1, and was kind of desperate to keep that position. But not a total disaster for him though. He is still just 1 place behind the Red Bull, but he is 1.6 seconds back, and now is actually in the DRS range of Chris Johnson.
He is indeed, yeah, and Mike Noon's also in the DRS range of Parser. So is Mike Noon going to come back forward at this once again? I think Parser understands now how late Mike Noon is on the brakes at that first corner. So surely it's almost inevitable he's going to go for the rear, and he's going to go through, but Parser's going to do the switcheroo and get straight back ahead. Wet Lemon stays ahead of Chris Johnson.
Very, very close racing we have here. Mike Noon again with another bite of the cherry here. He's got DRS once again. Parser not really too keen to defend. He tries to hang around the outside, but I think he would have been better off covering the inside line at that corner, because it's very difficult to go around the outside there. So Mike Noon then takes P2, which is actually the net lead of the race, because Dom currently leads this race, but he's yet to pit. So Mike Noon then takes the net lead of this race. But look at this, Wet Lemons is already right on the back of these two. Oh, yeah, Parser gets a big moment.
Right there.
Parser has a big moment, and it allows Wet Lemons to pass. So now Wet Lemons will be the car behind Mike Noon, but he is 1 second back. So now Wet Lemons will be under threat with the DRS from the cars behind. And he doesn't have DRS himself.
This is very good for Mike Noon, isn't it? These McLaren start battling with each other and getting themselves involved in a fight. They'll be waving goodbye to the win and allow Mike Noon to pull away. 2 McLarens go side by side, then Chris Johnson will be behind watching. This is vital for the championship, but the 2 McLarens are here to play as well. And it's Parser now in second place. Well, Emmons at third. Parser again getting on that curve and nearly losing the car. That's what he'd done before. And that's how Hickman went into the back of him and lost his front wing. And Hickman did have to pit again. And he is now in 15th place. He won't even score points if he finishes there.
Magic Poop Can's retired.
Is that a turn 3? Oh, it's a big crash.
Full
It's a
safety car.
It's a big crash for Poop Cannon at turn 3. And it is indeed a safety car with 5 laps to go. I think we had the safety car 5 laps to go yesterday in TGP1 as well. So it's going to have a sprint finish here. And the top 4 don't have penalties. This isn't great for the likes of Baz, Jacko, Blair Grills, who certainly do have penalties. And I tell you what, Dom, this is fantastic for Dom on fresh soft tyres.
Absolutely brilliant for Dom. I don't think he can make quite the charge that was made by those on slicks yesterday in TGP1, but Yeah, he certainly is looking good at the end of this race because, as you can see, he's come out the pits in P9, and the little bit of time he saved because the safety car didn't actually help him at all. He was coming out in P9 regardless. So Dom is struggling for pace for whatever reason around this track, and Baza has picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. So Dom effectively now is already P8. So Dom then, he could find himself in a very handy position come to the end of this race as Blair Grills comes into the pits. So Dom could be on for a top 5 here.
Possibly going to put fresh tyres on. He did pit early on. Remember, he did pit on the first lap, didn't he? Save Sports coming in as well. I think he had a 5-second penalty, Save Sports, for pit lane speed, and he's probably going to get rid of that. Mr. John comes in. But this is also very helpful for Hickman as well, isn't it? It's a bit of a lifeline for him because he had to make that second pit stop and drop back quite a lot. But now he's got 3 drivers ahead of him pitting here. I think Blair Grills might actually just beat him out of the pit lane. So he's going to make up a couple more positions down and be right back up there in the pack. But the restart's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because presumably Baza won't want to make things too difficult for Jacko. So Baza will surely just pit immediately. That would be my assumption. And Jacko will go through. Jacko has that 3-second penalty, remember. So it is going to impact him at the end of this race. Looking forward to seeing what happens to the top 4. I do feel like the McLarens, they've been very quick in this race, haven't they? Especially Parson, obviously, and then Wet Lemon's flying through the field. But Mike Noon's there. Mike Noon is in the lead, and once again, he's either at the very back spinning every corner, or he's fighting for victory.
Yeah, he's still very much trying to sort out the wheel on this game, and I can confirm myself it is not the easiest of transitions. Dom is also transitioning from the controller to the wheel on F1, but yeah, it just takes a lot of practice. And yeah, Mike, you can clearly see he does have the pace. He does have potential. He's just a bit ragged with it at the moment, and I think the McLarens look a bit more stable than Mike. But if Mike can hook a lap up, he's properly quick, and I think we've seen that so far in this race. Well, I mean, obviously because he's leading the race, but sorry, he started 6th as well, so he worked his way up to P1, and yeah, this should be a pretty good end to the race. Chris Johnson, his race pace is looking pretty good on the medium tire. Chris Johnson seems to be pretty rapid.
It's going to be a fantastic finish, isn't it? It really is. It's all set up perfectly. Alfa Romeo, by the way, lead the constructors on 301 points, 14 points ahead of Alpine. And then Mercedes are 22 points back, and Aston Martin 51 points back. But Alfa Romeo, with that 14-point lead, they both got penalties, of course, at this restart. Baza, of course, in the form of the drive-through, Jacko with the 3-second penalties. So possibly a good chance here for, well, one of the Mercedes, of course, crashed out in the football poop cannon. But Alpine could make up a few points here. Blair Girls can have a good run through on those fresh soft tyres. Aston Martin as well, of course, also both on fresh softs. So we'll see what they can do once we get going for the restart in just a few laps from now. Probably the next lap, will it be? Or will it be this lap?
I was going to say, surely it's this lap, because
the
field's already bunched up, and we don't repair Tech Pro here. So
yeah, there's no Michael Massey out on track
giving it a good
surveying
kick.
the barriers, in this highly technical way. But we're going to have the restart underway then. This is always one of the most difficult circuits to judge a restart. When will Mike Noon go for it? And will Baza pit straight away as well? That's what I'm also interested in here. But Baza is all over the back. They've just touched Baza and Mike Noon. Now, will that give a penalty to them? It will give a penalty to them. I'll have to see if that gets removed. I think it probably will. But look at them. He's still not going. He's going to wait till he gets to the line. Oh, he's another one.
Well, Mike Noon then, he's taken the restart, and he has got quite the gap now ahead of the McLarens. He's already a second clear. Controversial circumstances, though, it has to be said. And we have Chris Johnson then around the outside of turn 3 on Wet Lemons. Chris Johnson has now moved himself up into a podium position, but Wet Lemons is still there on the inside, so Chris Johnson's going to have to hang around the outside, which is a lot easier said than done at that corner. And Wet Lemons then retains the position. Chris Johnson slots back into P4. Baza has not pitted, and I think Baza is looking to hassle the guys in front of him to potentially help his teammate. But Baza then remains in P5, And Parsa then is still second and is right on the back of Mike Noon. So I don't know if Mike has damage or if Parsa is just quicker at building the momentum.
I was wondering if possibly Wet Lemons might have picked up a bit of damage. He's 1.2 seconds off, so it looks like it's just between these two at the moment, Mike Noon and Parson for the win. But I'm just interested to see what the stewards might say about that restart. I have a feeling possibly for the second incident, Mike Noon might be in a bit of trouble. But anyway, let's just go with this. I think Parson will for sure get his penalty removed. Mike Noon, I'm not so sure.
Baz is out
the race. He's not even made it to the service drive-through. He's out the race with 3 laps to go, 2 laps to go even, so I don't think it'll be another VSC or safety car as the race continues, and it's 1.1 seconds now for Mike Noon. But will he get a penalty? That's now the big question. Dom is in 6th place. Angel versus Death is in a fantastic 7th, by the way, although he does have Wheelock behind him and Blair Grills, and I think, is Wheelock going to go for the move here late on the brakes? No, he can't do it.
But Angel versus Death goes deep into the corner, and that allows Wheelnut through, and possibly Blair Grills. Never mind.
He hits him, they touch, they came together. Blair Grills loses further positions. Hickman now up into 9th then. Hickman 9th, Dom in 6th, which is crucial obviously for the championship. And Angel versus Death goes wide again, so Hickman now in 8th.
Blair Grills then with major damage to that front wing. Unsurprisingly, he did not really make the corner at all at turn 6, and Chris Johnson now is all over the back of Wet Lemons for a podium position. And surely now Chris Johnson, I don't think DRS is enabled on this lap. I think it may be the next lap that it gets enabled. But Chris Johnson then, he was a bit ragged coming out of that corner. Wet Lemons does have the better exit and potentially more straight line speed to boot. But Chris Johnson then will be looking to get
Dom
himself
and
onto
Jacko
that podium.
Going side by side as well here. Championship leader Dom side by side with Jacko, who needs to make the impact back in the championship after a poor week last week. But now he's lost a position to Dom as well, and he's still got the penalty to serve. Somebody's gone off. I think it's Angel versus Death's gone off. Is Chris Johnson going to get anywhere near Wet Lemons here? I don't think he will, but as you say, we did see DRS deployed, so they're going to have one shot at it on the run to the finish line.
And Chris Johnson then looks like he does certainly have the momentum. I think Dom is probably a little bit too far back to really make those soft tyres count in just one lap. But saying that though, he's closed in quite a lot. So Dom, if he can get a pretty good run out of Junsell, but he's going to have to nail these next 2 corners as well. But Wet Lemons is driving defensively. Chris Johnson's all over the back of him. I think Dom will be too far back come the end of the race. But Chris Johnson then all over the back of Wet Lemons. But at the front, it's Mike Noon who is going to cross the line first. We have to see, I'll cut as late as I possibly can. Yeah. But Mike Noon then crosses the line to win in Interlagos. Parsa comes home second, and Wet Lemons just holds on to beat Chris Johnson. Sorry, I just saw the leaderboard jumping about all over the place. I think there's a lot of penalties that need to be.
Yeah, it's because of the safety car. The safety car restart, isn't it? But I'm gonna work under the assumption that nobody will get a penalty. Even though I think Mike might be in trouble, I'm just going to assume for the moment that he won't be. So that's how I will try and work out these standings. But obviously, you are possibly a little bit subject to change because of that controversial restart by Mike. But so I think it's, or I'm going to take it as Mike Noon winning, Parsa second, Wet Lemons third. You think that's fair?
Yeah. I think Mike Noon potentially could be under threat, but yeah, Dom takes driver of the day after his late race charge on the softs. Of course, I think the algorithm was certainly affected by those safety car penalties because apparently he did finish second, but we think that may be a bit lower when we do the final standings.
Yes, it's going to be a bit tricky to try and work out the finishing positions here, but I think it's Chris 4th, Dom 5th, Hickman ahead of Jacko because of the penalty. So Hickman 6th, Jacko 7th, I think. I think they've all 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. I think I'm right in saying that's how they finished across the line. Should we just go with that?
Sure. I honestly, I don't know. There's just a lot that has gone on. You can probably assume, penalties in multiples of 5. are to be removed, but of course we'll have to find out.
Yeah, so I think it's Chris 4th, Tom 5th, Hickman 6th, Jacko 7th. Did you got the fastest lap, by the way?
Wet lemons?
Was it Wet Lemons who got it? So it's not going to impact the championship then, that fastest lap. But I will just very quickly try and work out the points, and obviously provisional points for obvious reasons. I hope this is the nightmare scenario that something like that happens in the final race of the season, and then it's like, oh no. But hopefully that won't happen in the final race of the season. Abu Dhabi doesn't usually create controversial safety car restarts, does it, Roy?
Not usually, no. It provides fantastic racing, of course. It is an iconic motorsport venue, but for safety car restarts, it's normally fairly straightforward. But
obviously, we may well have Saudi Arabia on that night, the final night of the season. I wonder what safety car restarts are like there.
probably not too bad, actually, thinking about it now, because you do have a long pit straight, but there is a corner before it. But actually, that would be interesting to see, I suppose. Actually, depends on where the start line is, and I think the start line's actually kind of far down the straight, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah. So then, these are what I believe to be the current standings. If we take the podium of Mike Noon, Parser, and Wet Lemons from that one, we've got Dom on 196 points, Hickman on 191, Chris Johnson on 176, Jacko on 175, and Pete Cannon on 171. So 25 points separate the top 5 at this stage, but just 5 points separating Dom and Theo, and then there's a bit of a gap to Chris, Jacko, and Pete Cannon. That's how I've got it at this stage as we head into another fantastic circuit, Canada.
Well, a once fantastic circuit, let's say. But
What do you mean a once? What does that mean?
well, the cars are just a bit big for it now. It was not. It was cool when they had like the real small light F1 cars, but I don't know. Ever since we've gone to these huge cars, we've never really had a good Canadian Grand Prix.
Oh, hang on a minute. I might have to make some changes here because the official results are in, and Mike has been given the win. Parser second, Wet Lemons third, Chris Johnson fourth, Dom fifth, but then Daniel P. Wheelnut is in sixth place, Hickman seventh, Jacko eighth. So I will have to adjust the finishing positions for Hickman and Jacko, but all it is just taking away 1 point from them both. Not going well for Jacko at the moment, is it?
Not really, no. I hope everyone readied up in time. It hasn't come up saying that anyone's left.
So it's Dom 196, Theo 190, Chris 176, Jacko 174, Poop 171. That's what I have at the moment, and that's what it seemingly will be if those results are finalised, which they look like they will be. Mike Newton looks like he might have got away with that safety car restart where he was certainly pushing it, but he's got away with it.
So we move on then to Canada, which hasn't actually taken place in on the real F1 calendar. Of course, you know why, but hopefully it returns next year. Is it on the calendar next year?
Yeah, it is on the calendar next year.
Oh, okay. Hopefully then it'll return to its former glory with cars that can hopefully actually race each other. But we shall see. But yeah, Sebastian Vettel, of course, winning it last time out.
Well, yes, I do believe Vettel should have been given the win on that day. But, well, the stewards can be inconsistent sometimes. I still personally don't understand how Ricciardo didn't get a penalty for hitting Bottas on Sunday, but Gasly got one for spinning Alonso at the start of Turkey on a damp track. So I
Yeah,
really
see,
can't understand the
actually,
consistency there.
yeah, I think Gasly should have avoided a penalty, and I don't really
Yeah, I
care that
mean,
Ricardo
I don't think
avoided one.
Ricciardo. Yeah, I mean, I think it's right that Ricciardo didn't get one, but if you're going to punish Gasly, then surely you should have punished Ricciardo for that as well. But anyway, Verstappen
Mm.
won, so that's the crucial factor. Who's going to win Canada? We've got cars out on track at the moment then for this session, and well, I feel like it's another crucial one for Jacko, who really needs to get a good result in. Buchanan as well, though. I mean, Buchanan was running well considering he had the quali ban, but then crashed out in that race, of course, that we've just seen in Brazil. So, but this is such a good track, but it's also a track that is very easy to invalidate on, especially at the final chicane. 3 times I invalidated there yesterday.
Yeah, the final chicane, which is actually much more open in real life, and also in real
Yeah,
life, you can take more liberties with it. But alas, this is Codemaster's world that we're living in. But Daniel P. Wheelnut then is on this back straight, the back straight which has 2 corners in it. Somehow one of these kinks is classified as a corner, but the one on the pit straight isn't. But anyway, Daniel P. Wheelnut then through the chicane. Hopefully doesn't really get much dirty air from the Ferrari, although that may get cancelled out with some slipstream. Daniel P. Wheelnut then taking a short route to the line, and he goes on to provisional pole. Of course, very early in the session, Jacko then with a 1:10.5 displaces him quite comfortably. Then Dom slots into second, but this leaderboard is going to constantly change and evolve as the laps come in. So the first set of lap times then coming in.
I tell you, I mean, it's quick early laps to be fair, considering what it was like yesterday. The early pace in TGP1 yesterday. That's actually not. Oh, Jacko
Oh,
spun. Jacko has spun. I don't know if he was pushing another lap, but he spun. But he's got away with it. He's not going to destroy.
oh,
Well, he's going to destroy the front wing there, and there's a Ferrari coming. Oh, the
oh!
Ferrari's hits him. The Ferrari's hits him. It's Joe Sayers out the session, and Jacko's out the session as well. Oh, it just goes from bad to worse for Jacko at the moment.
I'm gonna be
That
honest. Like, surely the Ferrari should have seen him. He's like comfortably out of the corner, and it looked to me like there was time to react. But
Well,
they're
Magic
both
Buchanan
out.
was on a lap and had to slam on the brakes as well. Magic Buchanan was approaching it as well, although he might have ghosted by the time Buchanan got there. But that is, well, I'm glad we caught that live on the stream. Jacko, it's unbelievable how this championship seems to be falling away from him at the moment. And, well, he's got his one lap in on 1:10.5. How many people are going to beat that? Will he possibly start 11th? He might get first side choice. That might be one form of comfort.
Well, Wet Lemons then has done a lap time, which I think probably would have actually been good enough for top 10 in TGP1.
Yeah, it would have been an extremely good lap yesterday, I'm pretty sure, because there wasn't a lot of invalidations, especially the final chicane.
I
I
think
think a 108.7 was pole yesterday, and then second place was like a 109.0, and there was a 1.1, 0.2s, 0.4s in there as
I
well.
think I
So
did a 109.7 myself, and I was 7th.
that
So
is an incredible lap time then for Wet Lemons.
I'm gonna double
But
check that actually, because I just want to be sure. But yeah, Parsa then into the pits. But of course, yeah, the big story so far is that Jacko is out of the session after a collision with Sayer Sports. I mean, I don't really know. Could Jacko have really done much different in that scenario? Because if you stay on the track
well,
too long and wait for everyone to go by, you're just going to get disqualified.
I mean, he was just before it happened. He was trying to get going again, wasn't he? And he hit the wall and lost his front wing. And then suddenly the Ferrari was approaching. I don't know if Joe Joe must have thought the Ferrari was just going to, the Alfa Romeo was going to ghost. I mean, that's certainly what I thought was going to happen. So I don't really think you can blame him for it. Perhaps he should have tried to avoid it still. But just a strange thing to happen. And Jacko, I mean, he's still third at the moment, but there's still 11 minutes to go in the session.
Yeah, so I think Jacko then, because of the nature of this circuit and the invalidations, I think he probably will start inside the top 10 still. But then again, TGP2 can get extremely close. I think at some stages this season we've had the top 10 within half a second of each other. So I guess we'll see. Wheelnut crosses the line and jumps up
Let's
to
go
P7. Probably would want a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's still Hickman. It's Hickman still also only in 8th place right now. So he needs to get himself up there. Buchanan in 5th. Chris Johnson 9th. Buchanan is in fact just starting a lap now. Do you want to take us through this lap, Roy?
Do you know what? I'll do one that's slightly later, just because it annoys me now that we've missed the first 2 corners.
Right, okay.
It's invalid anyway, so there we go.
There as well.
So
yeah.
that would have been an extra crumb of frustration. But let's see. Is there anyone? There's
I know
a McLaren on an outlap. Parsons on an outlap.
Okay, then. Could watch Parser once he gets round then to start the lap. But yeah, I mean, I'm very much in favour of track limits being on strict on in TGP. I think it's absolutely the right decision, because if it's the other way around, you just get drivers taking liberties and you can get away with a lot. But that second chicane around Canada, that entry to it is unbelievable, really, what you can get punished for just by running off the track slightly at that corner. Can be slightly annoying, but I think it's better than having it on reduced.
I like my liberties. But anyway, on board now with Parsa through turn 1. You want to be as tight as you can, because you need to open up turn 2 and then don't let the car get loose on the eggs. You need to be a bit gradual with your deployment of your acceleration there. So through turn 3, very easy to invalidate, as Parsa has just proven. God forbid he uses the curbs. So Parsa has invalidated this lap.
But we got Dom.
We have Dom. Okay, where is he on? Oh, he's P3. Okay, there we go. Right, so similar point then. Can Dom keep it valid? Turn in way later than they would in real life. But anyway, turn 5, completely flat out. We saw Stroll and Hartley have a big crash through there. Now turn 6, it's another chicane at this track, so you want to kind of sacrifice turn 6. He's gone a bit too deep through there. He's sacrificed turn 7 as opposed to 6. He's carried too much speed through the first part of that chicane. Through this small DRS down. Now this chicane here, very, very easy to invalidate. Extremely tight corner. And he gets a bit loose on the exit now on the run to the hairpin, where of course Robert Kubica had a huge crash here in 2007. He's matching his lap so far now. The hairpin, I think he's turned in a bit too early, or braked too early through there. So I don't think his exit is going to be all too good. Now DRS is open through this corner, this alleged corner. And now DRS wide open, foot to the floor through the chicane, which of course has the wall of champions on the outside of it. He takes as much curb as he dares, keeps it out of the wall, and Dom Smith then stays in the middle of the track, and he improves time by 1/10 of a second.
Well, I'll tell you what, Buchanan has just had a very scary moment. He was on a lap, further ahead of Dom, and was going through the final chicane, and realised he was probably going to invalidate. He was going to take too much curb on entry, so tried to back out of it and ended up hitting the wall of champions as he went through the corner, and just got away with front wing damage only. Very, very lucky. I thought he was heading out of the session, but he lives to fight another day, which of course he is certainly going to need to do after the crash in Brazil. We've got a lot of drivers at the moment either on out laps in the pit lane or invalidated the laps.
Chris Johnson.
We'll just start on a lap. Is Chris Johnson on a lap? Oh, he is on a lap, yeah.
He's on a lap. He takes a lot of curb. Somehow that's valid. It looked invalid from the camera. I mean, of course, I think it should be valid. But anyway, personal opinions aside, it is what it is. Chris Johnson then looked. Oh, okay. Seems to be backing off now. I think Chris.
He's invalidated.
He has invalidated it. Was it invalid before?
Well, it definitely wasn't. I didn't see it go red when it happened, so I don't know, maybe if a bit of problem with the graphics there, it's taking a while to update. As we see Daniel P. Wheelnut, he's on a lap at the moment, although he is 2/10 off, but it did say he's gone purple in the second sector, so presumably he made a bit of an error early on the lap, and he's managed to pull a bit of time back in the second sector. Can he pull even more at the end of the lap. Let's see. It is. I mean, if you can get through this final chicane quick, you will gain a lot of time. And that looked pretty decent enough there by Wheelnut, and we'll see if he improves. I think he will. He does, just. But 7th place is all he can make at the moment, just behind his teammates.
Now I'm going to make a comment here about the ending to that lap, because he went very far to the left, and he's within 300ths of his teammate. Now I don't think you wouldn't lose that much time, I don't think, by doing that. But it could come crucial come the end of it. We saw drivers in Suzuka and Mexico, I think, definitely losing positions by choosing to take the normal racing line at the end of the lap. But Canada is a lot at a time. Mike Newman.
1.2 seconds up. 1.2 seconds up. And he got on the gas a little bit too early on the exit of the hairpin and hit the wall. And he's going to have to come into the pit lane because he's definitely got front wing. In fact, he doesn't even have a front wing. That's a real shame for him because he was improving big time there.
Mike Noon then could have been on course for a front row or at least a top 3 if he managed to keep that kind of pace in the final sector. But Jacko then is still 4th. So
I'll tell you what, Wheelnuts has just gone into 6th place ahead of Buchanan, and I think he was listening to our commentary because he just took the tighter line, or the quicker line, the shorter line, the line of least resistance to the finish, and has gone ahead of Buchanan.
So my apologies then, he was just gearing up for a second lap, but gotta be careful of the tyres when you do that though, although safety car probability is rather high around here. We have yellow flags, but I believe it's just cars backing off, so no need to worry about anything there.
Well, Emmons is going even quicker. Emmons is going even quicker.
Well, Lemons then a lot of pace in that McLaren car. DRS now wide open, just this chicane to negotiate, but a lot easier said than done. Maybe a little bit deep in the first part of it, gets a bit of oversteer through the exit. That will slow him down a little bit and disrupt his momentum, but Wet Lemons then loses a 10th. Well, loses more, close to 2 tenths in the final sector.
I think he was a little bit tentative going through that final chicane there. Well, Jacko, by the way, Jacko's still in 4th. Yeah. So it's not disastrous for Jacko at the moment. I mean, it did say, didn't it? It did say like the initial laps were quite quick. So maybe Jacko, he might still get a decent finish here. But I'll tell you what, Pass is improving. And I think Pass is going to improve on that time now. Oh, he's got a lot of traffic though. Wheelnut there. He might have got a bit of tow, if anything, from Wheelnut. If he can get through this final chicane, well, yeah, that's really good. But good enough anyway for Parser. And he's definitely going to get ahead of Jacko.
Oh, no.
He's not.
He's jumped up to P2.
Yeah, it was on a lap.
It told me he was on an outlap, so I was really confused there. I was like, A, why is he pushing? And B, why are you commentating on an outlap?
Well, obviously having a few graphics issues today.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. Apologies also if you notice some cars kind of jumping ever so slightly. The cars seem a little bit twitchy for me, so apologies for that. But
well, Chris Johnson's definitely been lagging on my screen as well in this session, so I think that might be an issue perhaps on his end, as Dom goes up into 4th place, and we have once again a McLaren 1-2. So they were flying in Brazil, and now they're absolutely flying in Canada as well.
Yeah, so Wet Lemons then, he's found a little trick with his car that has helped him find a great deal of pace. And well, I mean, I say it's a trick, I mean he just turned ABS on and it's found him a bit of time. I think we had an Aston Martin of Indecisive Mackie having a bit of a spin. Actually, it was Dom Smith having a spin at turn 6. Apologies to Indecisive Mackie.
He was going on another lap as well. He was going on another lap, Dom, as well.
Does he have the time? The yellow flag barrier is covering the thing. Oh, no, I wouldn't say so. Unless he has the tyres, but I mean, he did just spin on them and it did look like he was on his second lap. So I think Dom may be done.
Oh, Mike Noon again! He was the 10th and a half up. And he spins it, and Indecisive is almost goes into, oh, we're not going to have a Jacko repeat here, are we? I think we're just going to get away with it. But Mike Noon again, he's got pace in the car. I think he's got damage though as well there. So that could be qualifying over for Mike Noon now. He's cutting across the track, trying to get back to the pit lane. 2 minutes to go. I can't see it happening, sadly.
No, it's not.
But there was a very quick lap in there for Mike Noon, which you won't get to see.
So let's see, Magic Poop Cannon, is he on a lap? He is indeed, and he's a 10th up on his previous time. He could very well find himself back in the top 6 then, but ideally he'd want to be at least in the top 5 here. Now, how does he handle the chicane?
Invalidated.
Not very well.
And that's going to be a next lap invalidation as well. So he's going to have to hope that there's enough fuel in that car for him to go one more time.
Well, I'll say nothing.
I mean, it was an invalidation, I suppose. Hickman looked like he was improving, but he's a 10th off after second sector. Oh, and there's a lot of wheel spin on exit of the hairpin. Mike Newton is back in the pit lane. No, he's not going to do it. He's got absolutely no chance of doing it, sadly for him. Where Blair Grills looks like he's going to improve here. Blair Grills a 10th and a half up as Hickman comes into the pit lane. What can Blair Grills do? Can Blair Grills possibly get ahead of Poop Cannon and Wheelnut, both from Mercedes? Can he beat Jacko's lap time? We're about to find out. He will, and he'll go up into 4th place ahead of Dom as well.
So very impressive then from Blair Grills. We do have a yellow flag. It's just Aston Martin getting out of the way, so no need to worry there. Magic Poop Cannon on an invalid lap, of course, because he did invalidate it on that chicane. Don't think will he have the fuel? He's going for another one.
Well, his fuel light isn't flashing, so I think he has got the fuel for it. So let's see what Bazza can do here, because Bazza's going to improve, and he will go. No, he only improves to 9th place for Bazza. So, Poop Cannon's on off. He's messed it up at turn 1. Poop Cannon, that's it. All over for him. He's done a 2007 Fernando Alonso there, and that's it. He's out the session.
Out the session. Hopefully that car moves out the way. No, it doesn't.
Oh no! Who got in the way? Who did it block?
Poop got in the way of Bazza, and is it going to get in the way now of the Aston Martin? I don't think it will. Magic Poop Cannon.
I think that's what led to him getting a quali ban in Mexico. So if he's not careful, he might end up having a quali ban for, well, we think Saudi Arabia next week as well, possibly Imola. But Wet Lemons is improving. Wet Lemons is going again, and he's a 10th and a half up here, and he's going to cross the line. He's still got Dom as well, and Daniel Peel Wheelnut, who look like they're also improving. But what can Wet Lemons do? He's going to lower the bar even further. Oh, he's invalidated the lap at the final chicane.
Yeah, he's understeered in the first part. And
Chris Johnson goes 5th.
Chris Johnson then with his best qualifying performance in quite some time, potentially of the season. I could be wrong on that, so don't take my word for it.
Dom beat him.
Dom then crossing the line. P3.
Oh, I was going to say it was going to be close, but it's not close at all. He easily done it. Here's Wheelnut then, final lap. Can he get ahead of Chris Johnson? Can he get ahead of Jacko? He does get ahead of Jacko, so Jacko down to 8th. Wheelnut goes 7th. Kind of 9th for this one then. Just seeing if we've got any other drivers to set a lap. I noticed there, Sir Tom Penguin was given a 5-place penalty, so he'll start 15th, and Bazet will start 10th with a free tyre choice. So Jacko 8th place in the end then, and he will have to start on those tyres he set the lap on, but obviously did destroy them, but I don't think that really matters.
Are they not a bit flat?
Yeah, I think they magically fix themselves. And so it's a McLaren 1-2. Again, it's been so strong tonight.
Yeah, the McLaren's is
on pole.
Great turn of pace. I was waiting to see driver of the day there. I got a bit confused. Driver of the day, I guess you could say, is Wet Lemons because he was quickest. So a McLaren
first pole of the season.
So very impressive then from Wet Lemons, taking pole by 0.3 of a second ahead of his teammate Parsa. So a McLaren 1-2 on the grid. Dom takes an impressive P3. I think he'll be very happy with that position. Theo is 4th with Blair Grills and Chris Johnson in the Alpines in P5 and 6. Wheelnut is in P7, followed by Jacko, who only managed to set one lap, but that one lap was good enough for P8 in the end. Magic Poop Cannon had a pretty messy session and finished it in P9. Sir Tom Penguin is 10th, but does have a 5-place grid penalty. I'm not quite sure that grid penalty was his fault, though, I've got to say. Bazza is P11, but will start 10th with fresh tyres. Angel vs. Death is 12th, followed by Mackie. And Mike Noon in P14 with Red Bull Kim, Kaya, Sayer Sports, who crashed into the stricken Alfa Romeo of Jacko, and Mr. John brings up the rear of the field.
I noticed that Mike Noon was 1.6 seconds off the pole lap, And when I caught him doing that lap earlier, he was 1.2 seconds quicker. So he could have got himself in the top 5 there, Mike Noon.
Indeed.
So he must be absolutely gutted about that. But he usually gets good starts, so we'll see if he can make up positions at the start. And so Dom and Hickman both on the second row of the grid. Reminder, Dom on 196 points, Hickman 190. Chris Johnson on 176, Jacko on 174, Buchanan on 171.
So here we go then. It's a very narrow run to turn 1. If you get a good start, you often don't really actually have the room to make use of it. But the two McLarens then on the front row. And we are racing in Canada, and it looks like a pretty decent start from certainly Dom Smith in P3. He's now second, and he's going to be challenging Wet Lemons into the lead, but decides against it and brakes very early for turn 1, which allows Parson to regain that position. So in the end, then Dom doesn't actually gain anything, but Theo, in fact, Dom's actually lost the position to Theo Hickman. He's now up into P3. The Alpines still run in P5 and 6, but it's a great start from Wet Lemons then, who retains the lead of this race.
Yeah, he was way too cautious on the brakes, Dom, wasn't he, after flying off the line. So Hickman ahead in third, Dom 4, Buchanan is down in 14th, so nightmare for Buchanan. He's had a terrible start, must have made contact somewhere along the way, as the cars, it looks like it's been fairly clean though, other than that, as Daniel Wheeler tries to go past Chris Johnson here. That was really going to work. Brake goes a bit wide, wonder if Chris Johnson will have a go here.
Yellow flag.
Got a card off.
Mike Noon is out of the race.
Oh, well, and Seiton Penguin spun as well, and it's a virtual safety car. Well, Mike Noon promised a really good result here, I have to say, but it's turned out he's crashed out on the first lap, despite looking very, very strong. And there's a bit of Ferrari front wing there that was at the hairpin on the racing line, which Seiton Penguin ran into. And will anybody pit? None of the front guys are pitting. Here's an 18-lap race.
Oh,
and it looks like everybody's staying up.
There's a collision behind the safety car between Sayer Sports and Mr. John. Not quite sure what was going on there.
Was one of them possibly pitting?
I don't think so, because it looked like the field was just kind of backed up, as you do under a virtual safety car. But Mr. John just seemed to kind of go in there at full speed from what I saw. So I would like to have a look at it again just to clarify. But yeah, that did look a bit messy.
Shame for Sayer Sports and having some strange incidents here in Canada. We're still under virtual safety car here. Sayer Sports has just come out the pit lane. He's going to get a full pit stop done here, despite the fact he had a spin and lost his front wing. Unbelievable. And we're back on the way. Will Evans and Parser, they've both got a drive through.
Both McLarens have a drive-through penalty here in Canada. Now, thankfully for them, it is probably the shortest pit lane on the entire.
They might as well just
calendar.
do it now.
I would not do it now. I'd give it a few laps. So Parsa decides to do it immediately. I'd actually let myself get a little bit of a gap and let be a bit more of a field spread. But Wet Lemons, well, actually the fastest lap's changing all the time because of that virtual safety car. So for a lot of drivers, it was earlier in the lap. So I think as every car crosses the line, we're probably going to get a new fastest lap.
A Mazepin situation going on there.
Yeah, DRS now enabled. So
Parser is 13th, goes from 2nd to 13th.
13th, but look at him now, he's behind Kaya, and Mr. John is the next car up the road. So this is why I would have waited a little bit of time to do that drive through, because now Parsa is heavily stuck in the traffic, and Seiton Penguin has made contact with the back of the McLaren, and Seiton Penguin is round in sector 1. Let's see if he has any damage. I don't think he does. He did manage to spin onto the grass, so I think he should be fine. Sayer Sports sets the fastest lap of the race because he was the first one to actually do a full lap at speed. Actually, he came out the pit lane on that lap. But Jacko then losing some positions then according to the graphic. And what's happened here?
I think Jacko might have a bit of a vote. Oh, Chris Johnson. Oh, Chris Johnson's connection is all over the place. Chris Johnson's connection is all over the place. Hopefully it's not going to cause any crashes. I don't think it has, although Chris Johnson was for a moment up in the air on my screen.
Yeah,
it looks like he got away with that one.
I've never seen a car actually spin on a straight, crash into the wall, lose a wheel, and then respawn a few meters later down the straight. But that's certainly an interesting tactic there from Alpine. But Chris Johnson then remains in the top 5. Wet Lemons, he does have a great deal of pace out there. He is stretching his advantage, but it's just not enough, really, because he does have that drive-through, which I think he has to serve this lap, I believe, because he elected again not to serve it.
Parsons just pissed to change his front wing, so he must have made contact in all that chaos he got himself involved in, pitting straight away. So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It was the right decision to stay out and extend the gap, of course, and he might get away with it a little bit more than what Parsons done. Now, Chris Johnson's still lagging a little bit here. This is going to be causing some annoyance to wheel him up behind, and certainly Jacko. Just wonder if Jacko's going to try and have a go here down the main straight. He's got DRS, but so is Wheelnut. Is Jacko going to try and go alongside? I think he might into the final chicane. Can he get the move done? Yes, he can. And Wet Lemons has gone in for his drive through, but then picked up a 5-second penalty as well.
Which is then going to heavily delay his next visit to the pit lane as Jacko then dives up the inside of Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson, he likes to play it safe. He likes to just get the car home, it seems, because he didn't seem to put up much of a defence. I mean, Jacko did break quite late. It was a very solid move from Jacko, I've got to say. But yeah, Chris Johnson then, well, happy enough to relinquish the position, it seemed anyway, from my perspective. But Jacko then is now up into P4, having started P8. Of course, the two McLarens having their drive-throughs did certainly help, but it's Theo now who leads the race from Blair Grills and Dom Smith.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating and putting it order then at the moment. And even with that penalty for Wet Lemons on the drive-through, he is clearly incredibly quick around here, so it's going to be interesting to see when he does finish. And he's right on the back of Poop Cannon here. Poop Cannon seems to be struggling quite a bit. Poop Cannon, it's not going well for him at all, and if Hickman and Dom can have a good result in this race, they will really start to pull away. Although Jacko is there as well in 4th place and Chris Johnson there in 5th. But because Blair Grylls in an excellent 2nd place, by the way, which is excellent for Alpine in the constructors. Wet Lemons gets ahead of Poop Cannon. Wet Lemons has got the job done on Poop Cannon, but Poop Cannon might have the better exit, but Wet Lemons has double DRS and will stay in 8th place.
So Wet Lemons then elevates himself up into P8, but we have an incident slightly further up ahead. Wheelnut losing the rear, and
got away with
down into P7.
Well,
no damage done, other than the time lost from doing that. But yeah, Wet Lemons then up into P8, but of course he does have that 5-second penalty, so in reality he's actually probably 11th at this moment in time, but he does have a great deal of pace and will certainly overtake a few more cars before the end. And I think Wet Lemons then could actually probably benefit with a safety car, because he just looks to be so much quicker than the rest of the field right now.
Yeah, you'll love a safety car, wouldn't you? He would be able to pit on the safety car and get rid of the penalty as well. And he will be flying at the restart, you would imagine, because he has got so much pace in that McLaren, and it's quite obvious. As Jacko is going to be alongside Dom here, and I tell you what, Dom's not made that too difficult. Dom is, well, it's very difficult to defend the position, to be fair, when you've got DRS, the car coming behind you, and Jacko goes through. And Wet Lemons, is he going to make another move at the final chicane? Yes, he does, but it's aided slightly by the fact that Wheelnut decides to come into the pit lane. Wet Lemons up into 7th now then.
I think Wet Lemons probably would have got that move done anyway. He did have the inside line, so it would have been quite the turn-in from the Mercedes if he were to elect to do that. So Wet Lemons then up into P7. Well, he's just picked up a 3-second penalty, so perhaps pushing a little bit too much, but I don't think that's going to be the last penalty we see in this race, and it certainly isn't the first. So
well, Jacko is flying right now at the moment, and of course he didn't really get to see his quali pace, did we? We only seen that first lap that he set, and he is catching up to Blair Grills very quickly. I wonder if he might be able to make the move to get into 2nd place. Dom is still there though within his DRS as Mr. John gets ahead of Indecisive. Mr. John in an excellent 9th place right now. Indecisive in 10th place on the medium tyres. Should say Bazer, because he started in 10th place, didn't he, because of Sir Tom Payne's penalty. He is on the medium tyres, so he's going to be going
yellow flag. Parse is out.
Parse is out the race. Is he retired on the track? I think he's retired on the track, so it's not going to be any sort of safety car then. As Blair Grills pits.
Blair Grills pits, as does Jacko and Dom. So they've had enough. They probably are banking on a bit of a safety car, a virtual safety car, but it doesn't look like we're going to get one. What's happened there? I think the Alfa Romeo, did he get held up in the pits there? I thought that setting was turned off.
I don't think so. because I mean Blair Grills was ahead of Jacko, wasn't he? Just about anyway.
Yeah,
Blair Grills
actually.
gets it,
Yeah.
and then Dom as well. So these guys have all made their pit stops then, and if they can put in a quick lap now, we'll see if they can maybe jump Hickman and what Chris Johnson can do as well. But Hickman certainly seems to have a decent amount of pace. Tom Penguin gets a penalty.
So yeah, just have to see now where the likes of Blair Grills and Jacko will rejoin. Does Theo elect to pit this lap? You'd imagine he probably will, so that he's at least level with those drivers that he was fighting with. So Theo then down the back straight.
Baz is going to go for Chris Johnson here on the medium tyres. He is flying. Baza is flying on these mediums. Could be interesting to see where he filters out towards the end of the race as Hickman pits, and so does Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson nearly clipping the back of Baza there, because there is quite the big speed difference as you enter the pits here in Canada. It's probably not the safest of pit lane entries, but it's crucial to see now where Theo will exit the pits, because he needs to be very aware of Blair Grill's presence. Let's see now on board with Blair Grills through turn 1, but Theo, he gets out ahead, so Theo what's the word I'm looking for? Retains track position. And I think he'll be very happy with that. He's got a bit of a gap as well to Indecisive Mackie ahead of him.
Chris Johnson comes out ahead of Dom. So Chris Johnson ahead of Dom then. Can he gain on Jacko? And because I'm pretty sure Dom was definitely ahead, wasn't he? Before the pit stop. So Chris Johnson has jumped Dom there in the stops. And we'll see if Chris Johnson has the pace to now catch up to Jacko as well. We're halfway through this race then. Really interested to see what Baz is going to do here and how long he's going to run for. And if we get a late safety car, he could be in a very good position, just as he was in Mexico last week in the second race. Now, will Wet Lemons pit? No, he does not. He's staying out on those soft tyres. He must be praying for a safety car at this stage, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, I think Wet Lemons could really do with that safety car, because he's going to lose a lot of places when he pits. But also, he could potentially be performing a bit of an undercut here, because, of course, Wet Lemons does have a great deal of pace. Now, I'm not quite sure what the lap times are in comparison to the rest of the field, as we see a move further back. Blair Grills and Jacko going side by side through turn 1, but it's Blair Grills who holds on to the position. Now, can Jacko get a better exit out of turn 2? He cannot, actually. He does indeed. I don't know what happened there. Very brave indeed, and they're still side by side, but or they were for a brief moment. But Blair Grills then relinquishes the position to Jacko and drops to P7.
Brilliant stuff then for Jacko. He needs a good race. What's happened?
I was going to say well on the road. Anyway, sorry if that sounded. I stopped myself. I probably didn't really. I didn't form the full word. But
well, we've got Brett Lemons at the moment, who's within 7/10 of Baza. Obviously, Brett Lemons still on the soft tyre, but still got a huge amount of pace quite clearly. Those soft tyres must be quite warm by now. Now, will he both pit? Will one of them pit? Wet Lemons is pitting. Wet Lemons coming in then, and he will have to save that 5-second penalty when he gets there. Just watching Hickman here. He's going to pass Indecisive inside the pit yet, but Blair Grills is getting back on Jacko. Oh, he just touched. He touched down, going down the straight there. Wow, that could have been a big crash. But Blair Grills gets through, and Jacko is through. And so Chris Johnson is just behind them both, and Jacko has been re-overtaken.
So Wet Lemons then exiting the pits. I think he will be P8, and there is quite a large group of cars ahead of him. In fact, it's kind of the battle for second place, really. I mean, Theo's got a little bit of a gap to Blair Grills, but Wet Lemons, and of course he does have a 3-second penalty, and none of the drivers ahead of him do. But of course, there are still 7 laps of this race to go. We have a yellow flag in Sector 3. I think we have a Haas who's spun at the hairpin. But Wet Lemons, then, he does have fresher tyres than the drivers ahead of him, and he does have a lot of pace.
Is Dom going to go for a move at the hairpin? Is he going to be late on the brakes? Is he going to go for it? He has gone for it. But Chris Johnson immediately gets it straight back. And I suppose it was worth a go there by Dom. He's going to have DRS here, and Kaya's out the race, but it's in the pit lane. It's in the pit lane, and Dom, is he going to approach Chris Johnson and go for a move here? Jacko's gaining back on Blair Grills as well. Jacko's going to go for it. Oh, this is very tight, but he gets it done.
So Jacko then passes the Alpine of Blair Grills, and the two Alpines are right next to each other. Baza comes into the pits. Blair Grills is derating, and his teammate is right behind him now, so maybe it would be best for Alpine if they did a bit of bit of a swap, but of course Dom is right behind, so that's quite difficult to orchestrate. So Blair Grills then, of course, he'll want that podium position for himself, and if Alpine finish third and fourth, then it doesn't really matter which way. But of course, Chris Johnson is fighting for the Drivers' Championship, whereas Blair Grills is not really. He's kind of got very much an outside chance, but probably very unlikely.
Well, look at Bazza then out the pit lane on those fresh soft tyres, 7th place. And he's catching up to this train of cars, isn't he? All very close together. And fair play to the top 7, who still do not have a penalty 12 laps in. I mean, this is kind of amazing, really. In TP1 yesterday, pretty much everybody nearly had a penalty by this point. So, absolute respect. Well, I didn't have one at this point. You didn't have one at this point, actually, either, did you? But I got one eventually.
I did not. But it's the only thing I have on this game, I'll be honest. But Bazza then, look at the pace he's got. I mean, Wheelnut ahead of him is already derating. Bazza's going to try and go around the outside of turn 1, but you'd imagine he's actually going to have the grip to do so, and indeed he does. So Bazza then up into P6, and now he can chase after this pack, which, to be honest, is getting closer and closer.
It is, and Jacko's getting closer to Hickman as well. I think he's just gained 4/10 on that last lap. Could we be in for a late battle between those two for the win of this race, as we see then what Bazza can do. Oh, he's just had a bit of a swapper on there. Oh, he's just saved that. That won't do the rears any good at all. Well, Evans 1.3 seconds behind, and Wilmot as well then, but still of course has that penalty. Pucan is just not working for him. Just not working for Pucan. Down in ninth place. Someone off.
It's a Ferrari.
It's
Sayer Sports. Yeah, so he's had a bit of a moment out of turn 2. You can drop the car out of there, so it's not too uncommon to see, as Chris Johnson now is right behind his teammate. He does have DRS, whereas Blair Grills does not. So Chris Johnson then surely will have the advantage, but he doesn't seem to have a good deal of straight line speed, and Dom is also too far back to mount any sort of challenge. Blair Grills looks to have got a better exit through the chicane, so I think we're going to stay as we were.
Jacko 5/10 quicker than Hickman on that last lap. 112.6 for Jacko, 112.1 for Hickman. Sorry, reverse that. Well, that's what I meant. Anyway, fastest lap for Well Evans. Blair Grills runs a bit wide. Chris Johnson still right behind him. This is all going to close up. Jacko is closing up to Hickman, and these Blair Grills, Chris Johnson, Dom all closing up, and Bazza is rapidly gaining, and Well Evans is rapidly gaining on Wheelnuts as well. Fantastic stuff for the top 8 drivers. Oh, Well Evans almost hitting the back of Wheelnut there.
Yeah, Wet Lemons gets a big deal of understeer as well through turn 7, but Wheelnut actually got a lot of oversteer, so neither of them having optimal exits, and you can just see the pace difference between these two drivers. Wet Lemons clearly with the pace over Wheelnut, but will he decide to dive down the inside of the hairpin, because he's already got the DRS, because the detection point is quite early, and Wheelnut goes quite deep, although I'll be honest, that was kind of my normal line through the hairpin. I could not get it stopped yesterday for whatever reason, but Chris Johnson then still with the DRS on his teammate. He's a little bit closer than he was on this last lap, but Blair Grills does seem to have more confidence through this chicane. But Chris Johnson then, he's a little bit closer, and Blair Grills is D-racing in front of him, but he's not going to be close enough into turn 1 this time. But Jacko is now just half a second behind Theo.
Yeah, and once again half a second quicker on that last lap. So Jacko, he needs, how much does he need a win at this stage at the moment after a couple of tough races? He seriously needs to finish ahead of Hickman in this race and win it if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive. 4 races left after this, and if he can win it, it will be monumental for him, and he's got to run on Hickman, and surely at this next DRS zone down this back straight, he's going to go for a move.
Yeah, he certainly looks to have the momentum. Let's just have a quick look at their deployment levels. Jacko does have a little bit to spare. Theo also has a little bit, but bearing in mind Jacko will have the DRS, he's not really going to have a huge deal to defend himself with. He's 6/10 clear is Theo, so I think their aero will be critical as well as they head down this back straight. Jacko's not going to be close enough this time, but if he gets a good exit out of the chicane, he could mount a challenge into turn 1.
Flies through it. Bazza meanwhile gets ahead of Dom for 5th place. Bazza flying. Is this going to be the moment for Jacko? He isn't using his ERS, but he has got DRS. Will he be late on the brakes? No, he's very conservative going into the corner. Surprised he didn't go for that and use ERS. But look at Bazza flying now. Now he's on the Alpines. He could be getting a podium. Blair Grills has still not managed to let Chris Johnson pass. Obviously does not want to let him pass, doesn't care about his Drivers' Championship at the moment, but is obviously fully focused on getting a good result for the constructors. Chris Johnson is really, really struggling to get past him, and it's allowing Baza to catch right up.
Wet Lemons tried to go down the inside of Dom, but I think Dom kind of just waves him by. He knows it's inevitable here. Dom just needs to stay behind, because Wet Lemons, of course, does have a penalty, as does Baza, so Dom's just going to lose time fighting these two who are charging through the field. Baza down the inside at the hairpin. Now, will he get a better exit, and will he be able to mount a challenge on Blair Grills? But actually at the front, Jacko now is perhaps a little bit closer than he was last lap. I don't think he's going to be close enough into the chicane, but if he gets a good run like he did last time and he's a little bit closer, then Jacko could really be fighting for the win here.
Surely this is the moment. Yes, he's using the ERS.
Theo leaves the door open and Jacko walks right through it. Jacko takes the lead here in Canada.
Huge moment then for Jacko. Baza's picked up a penalty meanwhile.
Theo,
come back on him.
It looked like he was going to, but he got a big kick of oversteer on the exit, so Jacko will retain the lead. So Theo needs to just do whatever he can to retain that DRS. Hope either Jacko gets a penalty or Theo can find the pace and regain his momentum. And he's still all over the back of Jacko. It looks like he's got a better exit through this short DRS zone. It's not often you see overtakes through here, but Theo, he's thinking about it. He's not going to go for it. He's going to wait for the back straight or perhaps even the hairpin. And Theo, he's deploying his overtake on the run to the hairpin. I'm not quite sure that's wise, unless he's going for a move now, but I don't think he is, and indeed he isn't. So Theo then perhaps could have been a bit more patient with his deployment, because now he has less to use to attack. But Theo now, with the DRS, surely he's going to get the move done here, because he's got the DRS, he's got the slipstream, he's got the momentum as well. So up the inside, into the final chicane, and we also see a move behind. It's Baza moving his way up into the podium places. There's slight contact between the two leaders, but Theo regains that place, and he's got DRS now.
Look at Wet Lemons!
Wet Lemons,
he's
three wide.
Blair Grills, and he's going to overtake the Jacko Baza to go touching into the corner. They're literally scrapping with each other around the course, and Blair Grills gets back ahead. Does he know? Wet Lemons gets the better exit. Unbelievable drama going on here. Oh! Blair Grills tightly made contact with Wet Lemons into the corner there, but Wet Lemons in fourth, Baza third, but they both got penalties.
Wet Lemons picks up another 3-second penalty then. That's not what he needed, so he's going to drop a handful of positions then towards the end of this race. Theo, meanwhile, has actually, he was in the lead last lap. My apologies, I'm getting a bit confused.
Well,
There's so much going on.
It's all going to come down to this. 40% for Jacko ERS. If he can get a good exit here, it's all going to come down to this last chicane.
And Jacko has been looking fairly good through the chicane, it has to be said. Now, look at that deployment that he's got. Theo is already derating down this back straight. This is for the race win on the final lap of the race in the final sector. Theo goes defensive. Jacko will try to hang it around the outside of the corner. They make contact, and Theo's in the wall. Theo's in the wall. He's out of the race. Jacko will cross the line to win in Canada, provisionally at least anyway. But Jacko wins from Blair Grills and Chris Johnson. It's a double Alpine podium. Baza fourth. Dom Smith comes home in P5. Wet Lemons, what could have been for him is sixth. But, well, I mean, that's... we've seen some moments already between Jacko and Theo this season, but that was certainly the most pivotal that we've seen all season. That was
second week in a row that a highly controversial incident between Jacko and Hickman has occurred. It was the first lap in Mexico. It's the last lap. It's not even the last lap. It's the last corner in Canada. And well, that is going to be very interesting. But that's going to big tent to Hickman's championship, and Dom will finish in fifth place. But I imagine we'll have a relatively comfortable lead because of that incident at the very end. Unbelievable.
And the person of the five main title contenders who's got the most points tonight is actually Chris Johnson. So Chris Johnson, driver of the day, goes to Jacko. Well, I mean, he did certainly have an impressive run to the finish and showed a great deal of pace. But I'll be honest, the angle I had was kind of from the rear, so it wasn't ideal. Do you have any comments or? Comments, concerns?
The angle on my screen was from towards the front, but I mean, it's so difficult to judge, isn't it? I mean, final corner. I have to say, it looked like Jacko gave room. I mean, it's going to go to the stewards, inevitably, isn't it? But tough to call. Tough to call. I think it's one really where you need to see both onboards and all the other additional footage to go with it. But
yeah, so hopefully
a dramatic finish.
Hopefully Theo hits that share button and saves his footage so that we can see both onboard perspectives. Same goes for Jacko, of course. So yeah, be very interesting to see, and maybe even the person who was third on track at the time could show us their perspective. We kind of want all the angles here. I'd love to see a bit of a mashup between the three, but haven't quite got time to run through the order. But you can see it there on screen. Red Bull Kim was the driver who picked up the final point of the race because Theo actually dropped out of the points due to that collision. And actually I can just run through it because for some reason my timer has disappeared. So yeah. Jacko wins the race then in controversial circumstances. Blair Grills then a very impressive P2, yet to win in TGP2, but P2 is his best result. Chris Johnson then, very solid night from him, and does close his gap on the championship leader. So very good night from Chris Johnson. Baza is fourth after having a late charge on the soft compound tyre. Dom is in fifth with Wet Lemon sixth, although I mean look at his fastest lap, 1:11.2. Could have been a race win for him. The Mercedes drivers of Pip Cannon and Wheelnut are 7th and 8th, with Indecisive Mackie and Mr. John completing the top 10. Well,
hang on a minute, just before we go, we'll quickly just bring you the points. This is based on the results that we've just seen, not obviously with any potential penalty come. But the championship has totally swung. It's we've now got Dom on 206 points, Jacko on 199. So Jacko suddenly goes to second place in the championship, 199. Chris is now in third on 191. Hickman is on 190, and Poop Cannon fallen back a bit now on 178, I believe. But just shows how it can just change, literally within a corner. And this is, if I'm honest, kind of what I fear coming to Verstappen at any moment this weekend. Suddenly leave the championship. But that's what can happen. Just one small instance, and 25 points for a race win is a big number. And suddenly Jacko's now second in the championship, and Dom has a 7-point lead, I believe. Yeah, 7 points.
Yeah, just shows how everything can just turn on its head. So as we say every week, impossible to predict any kind of championship winner here, and we have 4 races still to go. So hopefully then we see the same racing as we do every week, with some incredibly close battles and an incredibly close championship to go with that. Hopefully you will join us next week. I think I probably won't actually be the one commentating on the race. I believe it may be Ginger Andy, but we'll have to wait and see who will be commentating on the race. But if I don't see you, I'm sure we'll still be treated to some fantastic racing nonetheless. So hopefully
may be having Saudi Arabia next week as well, and if not, we'll have Imola.
Yeah, so we're getting either Imola or Jeddah, but I think we're definitely getting Spain.
Yeah, so, definitely getting Spain.
So yeah, hopefully you'll join us next week, regardless of who is commentating, for more great action from TGB2. For myself and Daniel, good night.